What's up, everybody? Back again with the Arcanine challenge. I do want to thank everybody for coming and checking out my last video. I wasn't particularly pleased with it. It was my first video in 4 years, and I had forgotten how to do some of the quality recording things. So I'm hoping this video is a little bit higher quality, that it's a little bit more enjoyable. I appreciate you hanging in there with me as I kind of cut my teeth again and get used to this video production and uploading and all the stuff that I haven't really used, those skills I haven't used in years. But thank you anyway for checking out the videos. I really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see me do different challenges, you want to see me do different games, you want to see me do really anything on the channel, let me know in the comment section. I'd be willing to check it out. So with these Arcanine runs, if you haven't checked out the last video, I'll go over the rules again real quick. So the only real change that I make to the game in Generation 3 is that I swap out the fire starter, obviously Torchic. I swap that out for Growlithe instead. This means that my rival is going to keep the water type. That adds a little bit of challenge, I think, to the run, and it also doesn't change too many things fundamentally. Now, I will say that Torchic in this run, where it really benefits is from having that secondary fighting type and also being able to learn flying moves. So Growlithe being a little limited, being the mono fire type, that is going to cause some problems for me, but I do think this keeps it pretty in line with the regular game. When I was running through this beforehand, I really didn't think I was going to run into too many issues. I didn't see this game as being particularly challenging, especially when I go through the gym leaders, but I was a little bit surprised. I thought that this would be way easier than my silver challenge, but funnily enough, it actually took me a little bit longer. Now, we'll get to why it took me a little bit longer later in the video, but that seems a little silly, right? Silver has 16 gyms, the Elite Four, and then the Red Battle, and this only has 8 gyms. But I did take a little bit of time changing or obtaining some items and some things that I think would be able to help me later in my run, and we'll talk about that later when we get to Mauville. So going through this rival battle, pretty straightforward. I'm level 7, she's level 5, use Bite, get flinches, easy peasy, right? This is going to get much more difficult, though, as the game progresses, because Mudkip does have 2 types that I'm weak to. To make matters a little bit worse, going into my Pokemon stats, if you don't know, one of the big changes in Gen 3 is that they introduce natures and they introduce abilities. So I have a good ability with Intimidate. It lowers the foe's attack, which is great, but I have a lonely nature, and if you're not familiar with what the lonely nature does for Growlithe, or for any Pokemon really, is it raises attack, but it lowers defense. This is going to be a huge problem for me, especially because one of the things that I'm weak to is ground-type moves, and ground-type moves can hit physically, so things like Earthquake are going to do a huge amount of damage to me. To make matters worse, the very first gym leader that you have to fight, Roxanne, uses the rock and ground type Pokemon. This is going to be extremely difficult for me to deal with. Luckily, unlike in Generation 1 and having to deal with Brock, Bite is a dark type move, so I'm able to get through the Geodude very easily, right? 2 bites, even without a flinch, it's simple. When Nose Pass comes in, though, I have to rely entirely on flinches. Get flinch 1. Don't get flinch 2, and this is where the problem arises. Rock Tomb not only does huge damage, but lowers my speed. Even if I heal, which I'm going to do here, if he doesn't knock me out, okay, good, he misses, I still outspeed, but by the time that second one hits, it's too late. There's nothing I can do. So because my speed has fallen 2 stages and I'm not able to 2-shot Nose Pass, even if I full heal with the Super Potion, I'm not going to be able to outspeed. And if I can't outspeed, I can't really get the most usefulness out of Bite. Right, so I'm stuck in a situation. I'm going to try and heal through it, hope for the best, but there's nothing that can really be done at this point. This is going to be our first loss of the run, and honestly, a pretty early loss. And this is the hardest thing with Gen 3, is that you have to grind a ton at the very beginning so that you can 2-shot that Nose Pass if you're going to make this run with a Growlithe, or hopefully not get a lonely nature with decreased defense. Round 2 with Roxanne begins, and I have gone and speed run, basically training, got myself up to level 18. One shot the Geodude with a critical hit, which is huge because I don't take any additional damage, don't get accuracy decreased or anything like that. And now here's the moment of truth. I still can't two-shot Nose Pass. But Nose Pass uses Harden. Now, Bite is a special type, so it doesn't really matter. And I know that I can get 2 attacks off. Or sorry, he has to lower it by 2 stages of my speed. And so now I can survive 2 Rock Tombs. I know that even though I'm slower than the Nose Pass, if I full heal, it's still going to take 2 shots to kill me. I will still get 1 in. And even still, she uses the potion. Uses Harden, doesn't go for the rock type move, which is huge. Because again, Bite, it makes no impact. I survive 1 shot. I now heal back up. She should be out of potions because she only uses 2 in this battle. It does more than half my damage. And this is the problem that I'm going to run into. Oh, we have a miss. But it doesn't matter. Outspeeds me if I don't kill here. And left with 1 HP. So we hope that either they get a lucky miss or I get something. Maybe a low roll. Maybe that way I can survive with a little more health. But each time it's always going to do more, and I'm out of potions. Left with less than half my health. One last rock throw. Takes me out. Alright, 0 for 2. So now Whitney's Miltank and Roxanne's Nose Pass. Those are my mortal enemies so far when it comes to gym leaders. So we're going to have to do even a little bit more training and come back for round 3. Hopefully this time it's a little bit different. So Geodude again, I'm at level 20 now, so 2 levels up. Use the Bite. Geodude flinches. She uses one of the potions crucially on Geodude. That means that she only has 1 left to use during the Nose Pass fight. Still can't 2-shot. Rock Tomb misses the first time. I can now survive 2 of those. And he has to bring me down 2 speed stages. Misses that second one. And that clutches the battle for us there. Even if that second one had hit, I would have been able to heal. I would have been able to fight again. And I would have... all I needed was 1 more Bite. She was out of potions to use. So I would have won that battle even if that Rock Tomb landed. But the fact that you have to grind to level 20 to make this very first gym leader possible is extremely frustrating. And it's really the reason why I haven't done a Gen 1 run yet. Because Growlithe only has Bite then. And Bite is a normal type move. But we're on to Brawly. Brawly being the fighting type guy that he is, there's really no type advantage, nothing that I really should have to worry about. My Bite is not going to be very effective because Dark isn't very effective against the fighting types, but I can switch over to use Ember. It is a weaker move, being 40 base power versus the 60 of Bite, but again, because it's not half as effective, I'm able to technically do more damage with Ember. I just don't get the benefit of the potential flinching, which honestly, the flinch is what carries me more often than not. I get lucky, but we're able to get through the Machop. We're about half health here as Makuhita comes in, and as long as I don't get a crazy crit, I should be fine. I'm going to heal anyway, just because if Arm Thrust does go more than 2 times there, if it goes like 3, 4, or 5, then I think I'm in trouble. Sand Attack is one of the worst things that can happen to me. Because I can't switch out, that accuracy loss stays. So I'm down 1 stage. And one of the nice things about Generation 3 is, unlike in Generation 2 of those multi-turn hit moves, if 1 crits, they don't all crit. I wasn't sure if that was the case in Gen 3. Because in Gen 2, if you get hit by like a Fury attack or something like that and it crits on 1, it crits on all of them. So imagine they get a 5 roll on Fury attack and they crit on the first one. That means you're eating 5 crits from Fury attack each time. That ends up being a huge amount of damage. I am able to defeat the Makuhita because that stupid crit mechanic's not there. I get a burn. He runs out of potions. I don't run out of mine. And 2 gyms down. So I think this was the moment where I realized that going against Team Magma would be a little bit easier when they send out the Numel instead of a water type. And at this point, remember, I already had to grind like crazy to get through the first gym, so much so that I didn't even have to train for the second gym. I literally just walked through the cave with repels on, gave the letter to Steven, then walked into the gym and beat Brawly and the rest of the gym leaders. But that still was a significant investment of my time, and I didn't really want to restart the run. I do think that no matter what, Team Magma, Team Aqua, they're pretty easy to beat because they're so low level, and I'll be so far ahead of them that it won't make a difference. But in retrospect, if I wanted to do this challenge the most difficult way, then I would probably have to do Sapphire. But I love Sapphire, and I never really played Ruby, so this was an opportunity for me to play the version that I never really played much as a kid. I played Emerald as well, but that's a little bit longer game time, and also includes some extra events that really, for my purposes in doing an Arcanine run, are useless. It's just going to slow my game down, slow the run down, and make it longer for me to produce the content. So Ruby it is. After stopping their efforts in Slateport, I do, before moving on to the third gym in Mauville, have my second rival battle. Now this one is going to be a little bit more challenging because she does have the evolved form, so going instead of Mudkip, it's Marshtomp, and he's going to have two moves here that can really mess me up. The Shroomish being able to survive my Ember is really frustrating, but that's okay because I won't have to deal with Ember very much longer. The cool thing about Pokemon, or Gen 3, is that Flamethrower, you can get the TM very early on, and you can teach the TM to your Pokemon. Now, I did hit level 26, so I got Takedown, and unfortunately, Mudshot does so much damage that if I do a takedown again, that would probably knock me out. I get really lucky there with a bite. If I don't get that flinch, I probably lose. With the Numel coming out, it's really not going to do anything. I am going to heal. For some reason, I hit Pokemon. I think I was looking for Pack, because I don't like that it's labeled Bag, but maybe I'm just a weirdo. And there's really not much damage. Even with the low defense, using a tackle, it doesn't have high enough attack. I'm not worried about it. 2 bites takes care of it, and we luck our way through Rival Battle 2. We're on to Mauville, where I'm going to explain how you can get that Flamethrower and how you can manipulate and cheat the casino, and this is really where my run slowed down. I did forget that before I can turn to the casino, I do have to smack down kind of my second rival of this game. This game introduces the multiple rivals element, which I do think is cool. It comes up a lot in the other games as well. But here we have Wally, right? At the beginning of the game, you help him catch his Ralts, and now you're going to show him why he's not good enough for the Pokemon Gym Challenge. And I'm 11 levels up, and Bite is special or super effective against his Ralts, which I one-shot. And just like that, he remembers he's not him. You're not the main character, you're just the side character. But that's okay, he'll come back later with a vengeance, and he'll do his best. It still won't be good enough. So once you get the coin case by picking up some harbor mail for the random citizen of Mauville who's too lazy to travel to Slateport, you can go into the Mauville Game Corner, and you can actually buy Flamethrower as a TM. And so with Flamethrower being available for 4,000 coins, you can either pay with money, or you can kind of do the roulette cheat. So if you go to this far roulette table, and you turn up the emulation speed, which is what I'm doing here, so I'm creating a save. Now, because I'm using an emulator, you can do it this way, and it's a little bit faster, but this isn't really a cheat because this is available to you through the regular save file. Instead of creating a save state, you would just create a save file and then restart. I did this when I was a kid, when I had hours and hours and hours and hours of time, right? So now that I have done that, I have won. I'm going to save again, and then I'm going to run it again. So I'm going to clear the save state, and then we're going to run again. Eventually, with the emulator, I'm actually able to put this up to like crazy speed. So my game time went from like 4 or 5 hours all the way up to 14 hours that it took me to earn Flamethrower. So if I had done that in real time and with the actual save mechanic, it probably would have taken me in excess of 10 hours, for me to earn Flamethrower starting from 50 coins. And so when you click on why not repeatedly, it's the fastest way to do it. If it doesn't land on why not, you simply just reload, right? Whether it's your save state or whether it is your actual game file on the cartridge, either way, it doesn't matter. So we repeat this over and over and over again until we finally earn 4,000 coins. Right, we go down, we buy TM35, and now we're able to turn our Growlithe into, or from the mild-mannered little doggo to the fire-breathing hell beast that he's supposed to be. Once that's equipped, we're going to make quick work of the third gym leader. Having access to Flamethrower, which is one of the most powerful moves that Arcanine can learn, and is the most powerful special attack move that Arcanine, or Growlithe, can learn, is going to make this battle really easy, especially when you have Magnemites there, because Magnemite, as its secondary type is now Steel as of Generation 2, it makes it really easy to burn through. So, being super effective. Voltorb even. I'm only 8 levels up, it's not super effective, and I still one-shot the Voltorb. Magneton, same deal, right? Super effective move, one shot, I'm only 5 levels up, it doesn't matter. Very simple. I walk through badge 3, and now I finally have more badges than losses, and that's 2 straight gyms where I've been able to straight sweep without having to worry really about any close fights. Just like with Sprout Tower in Generation 2, I consider beating the Windstrait family a canon event. I think it's important for you to not only beat Steven the Champion's family, but then go on to beat him, right? They spend all this time bragging about how great he is, and it's like, oh, you're nothing compared to Steven, and then I'm going to absolutely destroy your grandson and make you feel terrible, right? So in order to really defeat the champion, you first must go on a merciless killing spree and defeat his entire family first. Now, with the defeat of that family, you also get the Macho Brace, which can be helpful. It maximizes the EVs that you are able to earn through leveling up, and so because I'm only really working with the one Pokemon, because I need the best version of that Pokemon, equipping this, and while it does cut my speed in half, by the time I'm able to get to Arcanine, my speed is so high that most things can't outspeed me, and anything that would even be close in base stats, even with the dividing by 2, the level gap takes care of, because I'm only training the one Pokemon. So this does make it pretty simple for me to get my Arcanine in the best condition possible, and then it kind of reminds me, honestly, and this is going to sound really nerdy, but of Naruto. If you think of Rock Lee, when he wears those leg weights that slow him down so much so that he's not, taking people's heads off and outspeeding everyone like crazy, when he finally drops those during the Chunin exams, that's what's going to happen with my Arcanine when he finally gets to remove the Macho Brace and go full speed when he gets to the Elite Four. But first, you have to run through everybody, and they save the Grandma for last, which honestly is just brutal. Meditite's one of those really annoying Pokemon because despite being Psychic, it's also the fighting type, so you're not able to use Bite, but a Flamethrower takes care of it. It is crazy how overpowered and simple the game is, and this is going to give me an unrealistic sense of confidence moving forward, and it's going to come around to humble me shortly. Before I can move on to get the Firestone and the Fiery Path, I have to defeat Lava Ridge, Gym Leader, and in order to defeat Flannery, you have to first beat Team Magma again. And so I'm going to make quick work here of their grunts. I'm going to make my way up to Maxie, and he's going to disappear with the red orb. No matter what you do here, there's really no big battle, nothing that you can stop to change it, but it is a necessary playthrough event that just kind of stalls the game out. The first time that I played these games, this side story of Kyogre versus Groudon, the elements taking over the world, that was fascinating to me. I think it was one of the coolest things of this game, but now that I've run through and beaten these games, probably it's got to be close to 50 times that I've beaten these games, including the Alpha Sapphire and Alpha Ruby and Omega Ruby remakes that came out. I beat those too. Even beating Maxi here, nothing's going to happen. So Maxi's Mighty Ana cuts my attack, which is fine, because if my attack's cut, I'll just use Special. Can't use Bite because Mighty Ana is dark, so we one-shot him with the Flamethrower. This is going to become a popular theme on the channel, one-shotting everything with Flamethrower. Camerupt is a little bit bulkier, but a lucky flinch and a lucky crit back-to-back, and it can't do a single blessed thing. Golbat's going to come out, and while Flamethrower is not super effective, Golbat does outspeed me. The Supersonic luckily misses. The Super Potion doesn't heal him to full, which means that I should be able to beat him with a Flamethrower, but I choose Bite. I get confused. Confusion doesn't matter. Confusion is one of my least favorite things. It makes Golbat and Zubat my #1 enemy. So Maxi does escape here with the Orb. I collect the Meteorite, which is going to be huge for getting Return, which you'll see in just a second. If you trade the Meteorite with Cosmo, he is able to give you the TM for Return. So Return does more damage the more your Pokemon likes you. And because I use a reset when I lose, and while I put that counter on the screen, the game doesn't remember the fact that I have lost. So as a result, Arcanine's friendship is going to be completely maxed out, right? He completes all the battles, he's with me the entire game, and then on top of that we have no defeats technically registered. So that Return is going to be able to do huge damage. It's going to be even more damage than Takedown later in the game, and it will replace Takedown for me once I'm sure that I've maximized the power of my friendship. So with Flannery, Slugma's really straightforward. A Bite right off the bat, 4 bites, 2 flinches, 2 knockouts. So all that's left is Torkoal. I'm full health, and I have 9 levels. You think I'd be fine. No crits, unlucky. Another Body Slam isn't going to do anything. I get a flinch. She uses the Hyper Potion, and that's where I should have healed. I should have stopped. I should have healed then, because even though I use a Super Potion here, it's not going to end up being enough, right? I don't have Hyper Potions yet, so the Super Potions don't really heal all that much. So I'm still stuck in this around half HP, and Flail is able to knock me out with an unlucky crit. I mean, I can't really blame myself, or I can't really feel too mad, because I got all those lucky flinches, I got a crit. I just have to accept the fact that sometimes it happens. But there's nothing wrong with my strategy, right? So I just run right back into Flannery. Usually, if I'm defeated by a gym leader, I'll go and train. But in this instance, it really was just RNG. There's nothing that I can do there. Probably I could have healed earlier and been a little more consistent, so I could have stayed topped off near full HP, and then that Flail wouldn't have had a chance to take me out. But that's all right. So I one-shot this Slugma with a critical hit. I think that's just kind of the game's way of saying, hey man, we know that was ridiculous, and we're sorry. Slugma 2 uses Sunny Day, which would be fine, right, if we weren't all fire types. But I think with this match, I got a little too overconfident because Torkoal is a fire type, because everybody is fire. If Torkoal had used a ground type move like Earthquake, that would have been shocking. Now, in my infinite wisdom, I say, hey, the Sunlight's strong. I'm going to blast him with Flamethrower and see what happens. I end up doing half health. My Bite brings him down to quarter health, and Flannery doesn't heal. And as a result, I'm able to win this one, keep him out of the danger zone so she doesn't heal, finish the fight easily. No unlucky crits on their part, or no lucky crits on their part. They'd be unlucky for me, I guess. And I earn the Heat Badge. And just like that, right back into 4 more badges than losses, which is kind of the ratio that I'm hoping to finish these games with. So now that we've obtained our 4th badge and we have the ability to use strength outside of battle, I'm going to go into the fiery path. I'm going to pick myself up a Firestone, and I'm going to get myself a very early Growlithe, or Arcanine, sorry, Evolved Growlithe. Normally you have to wait because you have to earn Flamethrower, but because you can buy Flamethrower, or win it through gambling, then you don't have to wait for Growlithe to level up to 49 in this generation. It is 50 in Generation 2 and 1, but he learns Extreme Speed and Flamethrower at level 49 for some reason in Generation 3, because that one level makes all the difference, right? So as you work your way through the fire path here, the Firestone is at the bottom section. You do need to clear the boulders. Once you have the Firestone, you're going to be able to apply it to the good boy and turn him into the best boy. Although, in this instance, I guess my Growlithe is female. So, best girl. I don't know if I can say that without my wife getting angry, but, you know. There it is, Arcanine. What a beauty. Let's take a look at the stats real quick. So you can see just how much stronger that evolution makes your Pokemon. The attack, explode, special attack, great. The defenses get up to reasonable, but the biggest jump really is that speed. And once Arcanine gets to 49 and learns extreme speed naturally, even if someone is going to outspeed me, it won't really matter. We're on now to go and fight my dad, which this gym was always really weird for me as a kid. It was the idea, I was like, oh, this character has a dad? Weird. Because in Generation 1, Generation 2, you just have a mom. And so there being a dad was always super confusing to me. Like, I understand, like, that's how parents work. Right, I have kids, I know how that works, but they're just never mentioned before. I do get lucky here. Slacking goes for Yawn right off the bat. And because of its ability Truant, even though it's technically stronger than me, it's only half as effective. Now when Vigoroth comes out, I am going to fall asleep thanks to Yawn. What I really should have done is equipped a berry that would have woken me up as soon as I went to sleep, and then I would have been fine. But it's okay here. I can use a full heal, and my Flamethrower, I get a crit. So Vigoroth goes down in one shot. Last Slacking out, and again, not too worried about it. It's going to go for Focus Punch, which means as long as I land, it's going to disrupt the focus. And because of Truant, it's not even going to attack, but it's okay, I outspeed. So just like that, Norman becomes a super easy battle. I'm able to earn Surf, which means that I can continue on with my game. Before we can get to the next gym battle, however, we do need to disrupt some more Team Magma shenanigans. This time, they've broken into the Weather Institute, and they're trying to steal a Cast Form, which is probably the dumbest thing that you could ever do, because Cast Form is an aggressively mid Pokemon, which, just for that, I have a feeling that someone is going to comment below that they want me to do a solo Cast Form run just to punish me. That's too mean. Don't do that to me. And so even with my Diana, which honestly, I should have just used Flamethrower there, but a part of me wanted to see how much damage Takedown would do. I end up getting confused, and I'm about mid-health, so I don't want to really deal with that. Mightyena is still pretty powerful. One of the stronger Pokemon. I did like going from Poochyena to Mightyena. I wish it was like Houndoom and Houndour, but that single typing Dark is still pretty solid. Eventually I make the right decision and go with Flamethrower and take him out. I defeat Team Magma. I get myself the oh-so-special Cast Form that I have no desire to do whatsoever, so if any of you suggests that I do that, I'm going to be very angry. So don't even think about it, because then I'll probably feel obligated to do it. To add insult to injury and drag out this even longer portion of the game, right after defeating Team Magma, you then have Rival Battle number 3. Rival Battle number 3, I don't feel like is paced properly because there's too little time for the Pokemon to really advance. Shroomish is a one-shot, which is good because last time it wasn't and it was able to stun me. But she still has the same 3 Pokemon. Their levels haven't increased significantly, and I have significantly changed from a Growlithe with Ember to an Arcanine with Flamethrower. So even with the Marshtomp out here, I'm not really worried. It's only level 31. I'm 43. And I'm going to end up going with Takedown here. I'm not going to rely on Bite because I can, as the evolved form, one-shot Marshtomp. It's, at this point, completely worthless to me. And this is where kind of the trainer battles start to fall off in their difficulty, and I don't really have to worry about losing. But again, those trainer battles being simple, the gym battles being simple, those always kind of lull me into a false sense of security. And I actually got surprised here in Winona's gym, not by Winona herself, but by another trainer who had a Talo. I didn't manage to one-shot it. I used Bite because I thought that would be enough, and I brought it down to 1 HP. And if you're not familiar with the most obnoxious move of these bird Pokemon, it's Endeavor, which matches your health, you, the attacker, to the defender's health. So bringing it that low brought my HP all the way from like 151 down to 1. Absolutely insane. Bad luck here. I was hoping to one-shot Pelipper. Pelipper was really the only thing that brings any damage. Takedown wasn't enough to do it. Altaria is not going to be affected much by Flamethrower because the fact that Altaria is the Dragon type as well. And then it using Dragon Dance means that it's going to outspeed me. So now the Bite strategy isn't really effective because I'm not going to get a flinch. So I have to make sure that I heal here because I know that if I'm low health, I'm in trouble. And I was right. Altaria pulls out Earthquake. If I hadn't healed there, I was done. It was over. So Super Potion gives me 50. I'm still kind of in danger of an Earthquake here. It doesn't do enough to knock me out, and I have to go with the Hyper Potion. The Super Potion just isn't enough, and stupidly, I didn't go and buy more potions. I didn't realize that Altaria had Earthquake. It seems like kind of a weird move for a flying bird to have, but I have to remember that it's a dragon. Now, with full health, I am just able to survive. I throw Takedown, which thank God it missed, because if I had landed Takedown, it would have knocked me out, and I would have lost the battle. So I'm going to go back to Bite, because it's my really only option here, because I still haven't taught myself Return. I think had I given myself Return instead of Takedown, I think by this point my friendship would have been high enough, but I have no way of knowing for sure. I didn't go back and check it. But it was pretty high by the time I checked it in, I forget what city that is, but it's not Goldenrod, but that's the one I think of when I see the department store. No, because the department store's in Moss Deep. I don't know, wherever the woman is who checks it in this one, I hadn't checked it. So I barely make it through the Takedown. It doesn't wipe me out. It was my only hope. And even though it's a Skarmory here, I am a little worried about it outspeeding me, and with the Aerial Ace never missing, I thought that it would have an opportunity if it critted to take me out, so I used Flamethrower. Turns out I probably didn't need to use any healing items. I could have just gone with Flamethrower and probably outsped. But I wasn't going to take any chances, especially because that stupid Altaria with Earthquake surprised me. I got too confident, but I was still able to clear through in just one battle. Now we're on to Trainer Battle 4 in Moss Deep City, and if it feels like we just did a rival battle, it's because we literally just did. Again, there's really not well spaced out battles, but what's crazy here is how much stronger her team gets in between 3 and 4. Now what's really good here is Swellow uses Double Team, and even if I miss, that isn't a stat that carries over. Sand Attack would be much more effective because it stays with me and I can't change out, but Double Team does make it harder to hit, but I'm still able to finish. Numble surviving and getting off a Magnitude is a huge mistake. I would have been better served using Takedown and then one-shotting and using or just dealing with the recoil. Missing the Takedown here against Marshtomp, you would think would be a problem, but by now, really, I have 6 badges. I'm going to go and get my 7th badge, and you still have a second evolution Pokemon. So while she does get that Swellow, I feel like her still having 2 first generations, not even a Breloom, not a Camerupt, and still having Marshtomp, I think is kind of underpowered. Her levels do increase, so I will give him that, but I still think that should have been a full-on Swampert. I don't know. I think that's the last time that I fight May. I don't know that she ever gets a fully evolved Swampert that I see. It's possible that, obviously, it's coded for later. But here we run into the problem. So this is supposed to be a solo Arcanine run, but they won't let you battle with just one Pokemon. So I'll leave this up to you. You can say I cheated. You can say that, I had no choice. Whatever's up to you. So the answer to the question is, can I beat it with just an Arcanine? The answer, no. You really can't. I have to do at least one battle as a double battle. And so I'm going to go grab the Pokemon that's been with me from the beginning. Grab myself my level 4 Zigzagoon, because it's not going to be able to do anything. So your call on this battle, whether or not this counts, but given that I don't have a choice, I think you have to count it. Now you might be wondering why I still have Bite as part of my move pool. The reason for Bite is pretty straightforward. It is a Dark type move. That means it's going to be very good, and it can also cause those flinches. So it's going to be good against the Psychic and Ghost type, but it's also going to cause those flinches. This causes Lunatone to flinch. Solrock does hit me with a Psychic. Now the one argument that you could say is that Zigzagoon blocked one Psychic from hitting Arcanine. But if you look at how little damage that the Solrock is able to do, even with two Psychics, the third one's really not going to make a difference. So I am able to beat this gym leader. Again, comment below if you think I cheated or if the game forced me to do this. But either way, no, you cannot defeat the game with just an Arcanine, but you can with Arcanine and, a Pokédoll, or the equivalent of a Pokédoll. I think a Pokédoll probably would have been more effective. For the interest of those who want to see it, I did decide to include Groudon. It's honestly a little anticlimactic. Because under no circumstances am I going to try and fight Groudon. Groudon being, or having access to Earthquake would absolutely demolish me, and it's probably one of the only Pokemon that is on level with me. So I'm just going to run through the Cave of Origin here, and then just use a Master Ball. A little anticlimactic, but I know people would have been sad if I didn't include it. I'm sorry it's not more interesting, and people will be like, oh, you should have saved the Master Ball for Rayquaza. I don't care, man. I don't. The game's over once I beat the Elite Four. Last but not least, we do have to fight Wallace, who is a water type. Again, this is one of the things that really frustrates me, because this gym has like this really cool ice path and puzzle that factors into it, and you really just want it to be ice, because then I could just flamethrower my way through everything. But this battle is probably going to be the most difficult for me in the game. Now, I did level up quite a bit. That allows my Arcanine to get to Extreme Speed. Extreme Speed is going to be important for me to fight his Pokemon. He sends out a Celio. Celio, while it has access to ice moves, is a water type. It might be a water-ice combo, actually, now that I think about it, which means that fire moves are going to be regularly effective. But because of how bulky they are, if I were to hit it with Flamethrower, it's really not going to be that great. So I'm going to try and stick with my physical attack moves. But you could argue that Flamethrower might do a little bit more damage. It kind of depends on where their special defense and whatnot is. Now, I checked to see if I had a berry that would cure Confusion. I don't. But I also am trapped where I don't want to use a max potion because I was too high health. So I just randomly spammed out a couple of Oran berries, because they've been sitting in my inventory, and why not use them? Or sorry, I said max potion, I meant hyper potion, because it heals 200 health. I don't want to get less value out of it, but I knew that I was going to need to heal. I'm going to see, nope, Confusion, my least favorite thing ever. Getting a Confusion with Water Pulse seems really lucky, but I snap out of it, and I am able to hit the Celio and knock it out with the Extreme Speed. Now, Whiscash is a problem. With Extreme Speed, I get it to half health, but it knows Earthquake. I was thinking it was going to hit me with a Water Pulse, so I didn't do anything. I didn't heal, and that brings me to loss number 4. But as you might remember from my last video, I don't learn from my mistakes, so I decided to go with the Absolutely Salty run back. Now this time my Arcanine is full health. I'm not going in with reduced health, so I thought that would help me a little bit. But Love Disc opens up with a move that immediately confuses me. A Lovely Kiss is obnoxious, so I don't know what it is. I feel like I have the absolute worst luck when it comes to confusion. It always hits me, and I always end up taking damage. I am able to get through Love Disc, but I've taken 73 damage or sorry, 60, yeah, no, 73 damage off of a Love Disc, which I should be able to one-shot. Should have just hit it with Takedown and moved on with my life. Don't get the lucky damage from Bite. I decide I want to not use 2 extreme speeds because I want to make sure I have them for Wish Cash. But again, I'm still stuck in the situation where he can knock me out with a single Earthquake. So now that I have learned my lesson, oh, well, that's right, I don't learn lessons. We use extreme speed, and I say, you know what, he won't do it again. He does it again. And I don't learn from my lesson. And now I'm at 5 losses. But as they always say, nothing that a little reset can't hurt, nothing that the salty run back can't fix, and as always, third time has to be the charm. So now Wish Cash goes up on the Hall of Hatred, so that's Whitney's Miltank, Roxanne's Nose Pass, and Wallace's Wish Cash go up on the wall of you're the worst Pokemon in existence. I knock out the Love Disc with a one-shot this time. I'm done playing games with confusion. I can't take too much damage before I get there. I have to hope Bite isn't going to cause the flinch, but I'm still should be able to knock out Celio here in 2. I go with the extreme speed just to be sure. I am significantly higher health. I can withstand 1 Earthquake, which means that I can 2-shot Wish Cash here with extreme speed, and I'll have plenty left in the tank. And this is actually a pretty short-sighted tactic in retrospect, because even with me knocking out the Wish Cash, I still have to deal with a very tanky next 2 Pokemon. Seaking doesn't do a ton of damage, but he actually does eat damage fairly decently. And then last but not least, he's going to pull out Milotic. So my extreme speed's not enough to knock out Seaking. And again, I can't help but think, would this have gone better if I had just used Return? Because I became a little bit afraid of taking extra damage with Takedown, and so I steered away from using that. I know that's a mental hurdle that I have, and one of the things that's going to cause me problems as I play. I would rather use Bite, a significantly less effective move. Luckily I did, because Milotic outspeeds me. If I had used Takedown, I would have knocked myself out. The Hyper Potion brings me back to full health. But Milotic's going to just sit there and spam Water Pulse. And that didn't quite take half my health, so I have to hope that I can just repeat this cycle, right? The Bite's not going to get the flinch. I can't use Takedown because I can't take any additional damage because I'm right on the cusp of getting 2-shotted. And Milotic's going to switch it up and go Twister. So now I have a chance to use Takedown. Because I'm not in danger of a 2-shot, I can use the Takedown, and that finishes off Milotic. If I had redone that, I probably would have just had Return in the first place, used that on the earlier Pokemon, and saved my extreme speed to deal with the Milotic, knowing that it could outspeed me. But third time's the charm. I don't have to salty run it back, and we are on to the Elite Four. Alright, so I lied. It's not the Elite Four just yet. I did forget about the second Wally battle because honestly, he's not that memorable of a character. I do think it was cool to include him. I do think that he definitely could have had a place in the game. I think it would have been funny if you get to the end and all of a sudden you walk in and instead of Steven being the champion, it's Wally. And you're like, wait, this little scrub that I one-shot outside the Mauville gym is the champion? And then he pulls out first Pokemon Altaria, level 44. Still, he's using Super Potions instead of things like Full Restores or Hyper Potions that would get him to full health. So his Altaria, I don't really have to worry about. This is the one thing that I thought was a little bit tanky, so I did use my Extreme Speed on it. A Delcatty is not going to be able to survive a Flamethrower out of Arcanine. Even though it's not super effective, it's just not that great of a Pokemon. Looks cool, great design, I think it's really cool, but it's not going to survive. Magneton, same deal, right? That extra steel weakness, good night. And at this point, what has he really got left? A Roselia? Oh, guess what? Flamethrower. And if I wanted to be extra salty, I probably could have knocked out his Gardevoir with a Flamethrower as well. But, I want to stop him from embarrassing himself. I don't want to be the one to embarrass him, right? That's what friends are for, right? You stop your buddy from doing the stupid thing, but you don't make them feel bad about it. So we don't one-shot Gardevoir, we go with Bites instead. And Psychic does actually get off a good amount of damage, but in no way, shape, or form. And once that Altaria was cleared, was Wally going to have a chance against me. So now this time, for real, we're really on to the Elite Four. I was insanely overconfident going into these runs of the Elite Four, and I actually let my camera just run, or my recording software just run the entire time, because I thought I was going to clear the Elite Four on my first run through. I was arrogant enough to believe that there was nothing that they could do that could harm me, even with Sharpedo, and I had no problem whatsoever with the Sharpedo. Now, the Swagger is really annoying, and I keep spamming Flamethrower like that's going to fix it. Oh, wait. I lied. And just like that, my first run was over. I went into this way too confident, thinking that, these guys are nothing. I'm going to have no problem with the Elite Four. And man, oh man, did I struggle. After that stupid death to Sharpedo, I didn't have any problems going through the first two of the Elite Four. But as soon as I got to the third member of the Elite Four, that's where I started to run into problems. And again, it's the same crap it always is with these Ice-type trainers. There simply just are not enough natural Ice types. So they're going to throw things out like Water types. And Water is going to be my mortal enemy. And now, if you aren't familiar with Walrein because he was really hard to catch in Generation 3, and you get access to Walrein really, really late, then you're not familiar with how much of an absolute beast he is. Walrein is an absolute wall. I mean, that makes sense. It's in the name, right? It definitely doesn't come from Walrus. But you can't get through him very easily, and I struggle with my Elite Four runs as I try and get through Walrein and onto the champion. Even the first time that I clear Walrein, I still struggle. So I think we started this with, 5 total losses? And you'll see by the end just how many I accrue. You may notice that my losses have taken a jump here. I went from 6 to 9, and the reason why I'm not showing all of the battles is because honestly this is pretty typical of how the battles went. I found myself running into a wall. I couldn't do much damage to him. Even if I heal, the best that puts me in is I'm in 2-shot range. I can't survive 2 surfs from Walrein. I can't possibly out-heal the damage, so I have to hope that he does something like this. And so each time, instead of just cutting my losses, I just kept slamming my head against the wall and hoping for a different result. Now he does use Blizzard, and that Surf almost takes me out. The hail stops, and I know right here this is the only chance that I'm going to have to beat Walrein for the very first time. So after 4 runs through the Elite Four, I get through Walrein. This is time 3 with Walrein. So now if we go on the wall of haters, Walrein is way up there, right? Surpassing all the other haters so far. Walrein does a number on me. And I wish I could tell you that this was the last time. Now I do defeat her and move on. And I feel like this run's going really, really well. I feel like this is finally my chance, my opportunity, but I'm going to be humbled yet again. I actually don't have too much trouble getting through Drake, who I thought was a lot harder, and it's probably because I spoil myself by playing Emerald in my typical runs when I'm not doing a challenge. Because I remember his, an Emerald at least, his Salamence uses Fly. And so I saved all my extreme speeds in my run to deal with the Salamence, which was fine. But I knew I had to outspeed him so I could actually deal damage, because otherwise he just spams Fly over and over again. That wasn't the case, and so I was able to beat him easily. Skarmory I swept through immediately, but Metagross was going to be a problem. If I had one-shot Metagross, I don't take that damage from Earthquake, I think I'd probably be in a better place. And I guessed that maybe it was a low roll, but what I really should have done is I should have just healed right then and there. Right? I knew he was going to use a full restore. I should have used one. And now instead, I'm stuck in a situation where I have Claydol and I can't deal any damage right off the bat. Claydol is going to be able to two-shot me with Earthquake. Now, what I don't realize here is that this is actually a strategy that I could use and employ. I know that Earthquake only has 10 PP. I have more full restores than that because I haven't used that many in my run. So I could theoretically play this game and wait out the number of Earthquakes. But I was tired, I wasn't really thinking, and I get to a point where this seems, I don't know, not really a strategy so much as hitting somebody with my wallet repeatedly and just laughing in like, I'm too rich for your problem. And that doesn't really feel like a good strategy either. This isn't Arcanine beating Claydol, this is items beating Claydol, right? Claydol running out of an opportunity to hurt me. So we're just going to repeat this strategy over and over again. Remember, Claydol has 10 Earthquakes. I'm hoping that, like, maybe, just maybe, they do one that's less than half my health and I can get an attack off. But again, all this is avoided if I hit Claydol turn 1 with something that does damage. Now, Claydol switches to using Light Screen, which raises special defense. I use Bite. Bite is a special attack move. Even though it is super effective, Light Screen is significantly reducing the damage. And while Claydol is out of Earthquakes, it does have Ancient Power. Ancient Power is also super effective against Arcanine. And so instead of using Bite, I should have used something. Well, I guess I'm stuck here with Claydol, right? Because I don't think normal attacks do damage to it. So no matter kind of what I do here, I'm in a bad situation. I could have stalled out again, but at this point, I'm not really thinking. If I had stalled out here, though, I think I probably win. And instead of going for a restore, I assume that I can beat him with my damage, and I don't. And this is going to lead to hours and hours and hours of more gameplay as I struggle again with my number one hater, Walrein. Over and over I run into Glacia, and there's just not an easy way to beat her. There just isn't. As you can see here, my loss counter has gotten a little out of control because this is a tough battle. Eventually I do go out and I do some training, and even then I still am very lucky in that I was able to two-shot the Walrein. But it took me bringing my Pokemon all the way up to level 65, leveling up to 66 through the battles before I got to Glacia, and then having enough strength in 2 returns to two-shot. Remember, return, because I reset, it does not lose any of the friendship ability, so I am able to finally clear through. I do make my way. Drake is a complete non-issue without Fly, and so I make my way to Steven, and this time I am not going to make the same mistake. I've gotten this far. It has taken me, I don't even know. How many losses was I at coming in? 6 losses. So 11 times through this damn Elite Four, most of that to Walrein. And by this point, because I've leveled up so much, I probably could have beat Steven the first time around. But I wasn't able to do so. And now I'm going to run through his Pokemon. I can one-shot the Metagross so I don't take that Earthquake damage. Claydol focuses on raising defensive stats. I still focus on Bite, hoping that I can get the flinch. And because it raised its defense and not a special defense, I can use Flamethrower, and it has no problem. Aggron, even though it's Steel, it's also Ground type, so it's not super weak to Flamethrower. But Flamethrower is just that strong, it really doesn't matter. Aggron does do a bit of damage. Reflect is now worn off. Steven goes to the full restore, so I'm going to do a Bite so that he doesn't full restore again. That does just enough damage that this Flamethrower this time should knock him out. Now, it's possible that I got a low roll in the Flamethrower, but I really wasn't going to try and gamble, because on the off chance that I don't kill him and he crits with an Earthquake, I'm not sure that I can get past Walrein still. Cradily I was a little confused about because I forgot what type it was, and so for some reason I threw out a return there. I knew that a flamethrower wasn't going to do a ton of damage, and so I got kind of stuck here on what I can do for damage. I guess I can go with Bite since Bite is neutral, and I can hope for the flinch. But Cradle is going to do a lot of damage, but since I didn't have to spam all my full restores getting through the Earthquakes of Claydol, I still have full access to healing items. And so this is just a matter of, yes, I'm going to end up using a couple of healing items, but it's not as ridiculous, and it doesn't feel as bad as using that full restore stall out that I had used on Claydol the first time around. Now I'm left with Armaldo, same deal. I'm not really sure what to do here. Flamethrower should do more damage. And it does. It ends up being neutral type, and it does a ton of damage to Armaldo. I'm going to heal just because heaven forbid I miss, and I have to fight Walrein again. And at this point, are you kidding me? And that, kids, is why we take heals. Now, I did switch from the Macho Brace, but you will see that Arcanine is holding an item. That's the King's Rock. The hope was that with the King Rock, I could end up getting a couple of extra flinches on moves that weren't Bite, especially with things like Return against Walrein and against the Celios that I was using to beat Glacia. I didn't really get that many non-Bite flinches, though. And so I'm not sure quite what the percentage on that item is, but it does seem a little ridiculous that I wasn't able to clear it. I am able to survive through the confusion. I was actually a little confused here. I didn't realize that full restore fixes confusion. So when my Arcanine used Flamethrower, I thought the game had made a mistake. It didn't say Arcanine is confused, Arcanine used Flamethrower. So I thought that the game would actually make a mistake, but apparently full restore does clear things like confusion. I wonder if it works on things like Attract too. I've never really been big on using full restore, and that's usually not something I have to super worry about in Elite Fours. So I've never tested it, but if you know the answer to that, drop that in the comment section below. I'd love to find out if it works on Attract. And then that way, I could absolutely destroy Whitney again. Maybe cheat and put a full restore in the game, and then that way that Miltank can't do anything against me. But I did beat Steven. I am the champion. It did take 2 tries, so the only member of the Win Straight family to ever beat me is Steven. But honestly, the real champ here is Walrein, not Glacia. She didn't do anything. That's all the Walrein. That Walrein is now going to be my mortal enemy. And honestly, I might have to do a Walrein run now, just because he's my #1 hater. He deserves it. He earned it. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you want to see next time in the comments below. If you want me to continue with this series, I'll happily jump into Gen 4. If you want me to just do something new, drop that in the comment section below. I might also be playing Pokemon Rogue 2. I just realized that came out, so I might be taking a look at that as well. So keep an eye out on the channel for videos of that, and I will see you next time.